morning. So I was flipping through the channels and I landed on NPR, and they had someone talking about the economy. I listened for all of about 30 seconds and then turned it off. And they were talking about a recent drop in the stock market. And the person speaking had said that, the amount of points that it dropped, if those points had dropped whenever the stock market was around 10,000, whatever that number means, then it would have been more significant than today because we're over 20,000. That's what it sounded like to me. That's just basic math. But then he went on to say that there doesn't seem to be any reason why we had this sudden drop, and that's the one that made me turn it off, because we've recently been we've had a collection of evidence hit a critical point to prove the existence of a deep state and corruption of FBI, DOJ, or at least the possibility for corruption at the hands of the party in power, the president. And that's that could be the reason why there was a change in the stock market. Now, I don't necessarily believe that changes in the stock market have an impact on me, but I do believe that changes in the stock market help you kind of understand what intelligent people are thinking. There are people who would watch the stock market and they'd say, 9/11 is about to happen. They'd watch the stock market, not 9/11, but an event is about to happen. People would watch the stock market and they'd say, the President Trump's about to be elected. So there's people who can actually, they are the information that is available to intelligent people who are have positions of power, and they're in like the upper 1%. There's a reason they're in the 1%, because they're part of a competence hierarchy, and then as they become aware of information, they make decisions, and those decisions are reflected in the market. And whenever you study the market, you can begin to get a picture of the consciousness of the people who are at the top of the hierarchy. And I'm not at the top of the competence hierarchy. I wish I was, but this is a theory that I have, because I have heard, I've seen it happen. I've seen the market respond preemptively to news and coincide with news, and I've heard of the people in the 1% making predictions because of the stock market. And I think if you talk to people who are in the stock market, they will testify to the validity or the truth of my claim. And I guess just to end it, to finish this video out, there's the idea of the deep state. There's a lot of people who ignore it. They don't want to think about it. There's people who don't want to consider that there's a conspiracy and a corruption of power, and they especially don't want to consider that it's their team who is corrupt. And this is true back whenever the Bushes were in power, the Republicans. They didn't want to believe that the Bushes and their team were capable of corruption and conspiracy. Now with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, the Democrats don't want to believe that their people and they're in power are capable of conspiracy and corruption, and so you have this. It's a knee-jerk reaction. It's this confirmation bias, delusional thinking that all human beings are susceptible to, and the majority of human beings are plagued and possessed by this kind of feature of human nature. Maybe it's not a feature, but a bug. But that's what's going on. There's all this evidence that is accumulated. It basically says everything that the majority of news outlets claim that Donald Trump has done has actually been done by Hillary Clinton, who stole the primary election from Bernie Sanders, who went in and influenced the media, which explains why the media has its narrative. And so the deep state, it's connected with the media, it's connected with the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ. There are people embedded within the systems of power that never seem to shrink in size. And then meanwhile, we have this ever-growing debt. And I heard that 40% of the tax revenues are going to pay for the interest on our debt. I mean, that's pretty crazy, and it doesn't look like we're slowing down. And I don't think you can blame the president for the increases in debt. It's the Congress. You blame the Congress for these mistaken financial decisions, and the Congress have just been doing this over and over again, and they're a reflection of people. And if you look at people, they're all in debt as well. And so how does that end up? That's an interesting question that we all need to think about. And you may need to be bringing in the most intelligent, highly qualified people in an entire world to figure out how to prepare for the inevitability of the dollar, the value of the dollar collapsing. And I think we can prepare for it, but nobody's really planning for that future. It's kind of like global warming, and everybody wants to talk about climate change. And I say, well, the most important thing about climate change is maybe you should be prepared for the worst case scenario. Don't continue to live in those areas that are going to be flooded by the oceans if the icebergs and the glaciers melt. I mean, come on. Why are we going to try to stop the glaciers and icebergs from melting? Why don't we just prepare for it to happen? And why can't we do parallel? Like, some people can be trying to make it stop while other people are preparing for the worst case scenario. We need to be doing the same thing all across the board with every kind of problem that we face. And that's it. That's my rant.